We're diving a little deeper into Kristaps Porzingis' return from illness, and with 14 games left, what do we want to see from a regular season that's already decided? It's all right now on the Locked On Celtics podcast.
Yup. Beantown, be ever ready. Recognize the city of champs. Back to back, if I say it, it's stamp. Locked on number 19, the best one, the next one. Juice loose in your pool now for the next run. It's the C's, who else could it be? What they gon' say now? Screaming like JT, Karalis, recap the madness. Every game, every practice. Best daily pod, no cap like Brad Beckett. Plus like Jrue to KP, tap in daily. Prime time, dapping D White on the sideline. Raining Jace, how it started, raising banners, how we finished. Locked on Celtics pod, home of the winners.
Hey there, welcome back to the Locked On Celtics podcast, right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day, Monday through Friday. Guaranteed Monday through Friday, a free podcast that drops directly to your favorite podcasting app. When they play on the weekends, I'll give you a bonus podcast. Why not? Because that's what I do. I podcast for a living. So make sure you're subscribed. Watch the show on YouTube. Get into the comments section there. Share your thoughts with everybody. And me. I'm John Karalis. If you're new to the show, I have been covering the Celtics for about 20 years now, doing it now as a beat writer for Boston Sports Journal. You can read my work there, or you can read one of the two books I've written on the Celtics. Today's show is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. Today, we're just taking later on, we'll take a quick look ahead, because 14 games left in the season and everything's pretty much decided. So what do we want to see? But the Celtics played over the weekend. I did do bonus podcasts, but there's more to get into. And to get into all of that, let's do it with our boy, Tom Westerholm. What is going on, my man?
Oh, not much. Just I feel like really the last couple games really hammered home Jaylen Brown's point about how great this part of the season is,
Yeah.
Really.
I mean, he said this is the best time of year. We're ramping up. And that Miami game was just, and then the Brooklyn game was woo. And
I think it's important. A lot of people forget that what people really look forward to in the afterlife is purgatory, right? Like, so that's the best part of
that the medium place.
Listen, Jaylen Brown,
cannonball run to
Mindy St. Clair. It's time they met.
Yeah. Hey, listen, you could do worse than Mindy St. Clair. She's not bad. She seems like a fun time
lady.
Yeah. She has a story to tell.
She does.
Let's start with the big story. Obviously, I touched on it in yesterday's bonus podcast, but Kristaps Porzingis was back. I'll say it again. I love that Joe Mazzulla was asked about the minutes restriction. He said, "Oh no, the minutes restriction was 32." So he's 31, 30. So yep, this was the plan. Yep, playing the whole fourth quarter. That was the plan.
Yeah.
You're like, was it, Joe? Because I don't believe you. I don't think you're telling me full truth here.
You've lied to me before, my friend.
Yeah. It's like Pickle Rick's.
Only 7 times, shame on everyone. That's what I always say.
I've misled him before. I can understand why he doesn't trust. So yeah, but as I said, it's a lot to throw him, but also it's not like he's coming back from injury. It's not like it's a calf or the ankle or something like that, and you're just really pushing something that's not fully healed or whatever. He's just tired.
Yeah.
And I know that fatigue can lead to injury, and you always got to be careful with Kristaps, but he was just mostly tired. And like, okay, let's push that cardio a little bit with 2 days off. Okay, I'm going to let this one slide.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think the point about it being this isn't like we're not like he's not pushing a hamstring or something that got pulled. Like that's not what's going on here. No, I agree completely. And I mean, I thought it was by that same token, right? It's almost Porzingis coming back in that way is almost kind of like as good a result as you could kind of hope for, because not only does he look like he's as soon as I'm sure he doesn't feel great, right? I'm sure his lungs were really burning by the end of it.
Yeah.
But like, the fact that he could go is encouraging. And not for nothing. That's like if he plays about 30 minutes a game. He missed 9-ish games. I think that's right. And then 10 if you want to count the Pistons game where he added nothing.
Yeah, you could almost count that for sure.
I mean that's more than 200 minutes that are just not on his legs as the playoffs approach. Like I know that Porzingis has missed a lot of time, but I mean realistically, this is the time that you need him coming up. Not December games. You don't need him in December. Like if he misses 8 games now, comes back healthy, feels good by the time the playoffs roll around, and is good for the playoffs, and only has 40 some odd games under his belt of miles on his legs, that's not a bad outcome, quite frankly.
Yeah. No, it really isn't. It's so funny because you see the comments from people who are like, people start to call him soft, and people start to be like, I want a guy who plays on my roster, and blah, blah, blah. Okay, yes, I get it.
Fair enough. And by the way, Porzingis also gets it. Like he was yesterday, he told reporters, no, I get it. Like if I was seeing somebody on an injury report this long with illness, I'd be like, what, he can't play through a little illness? Like he gets it too, I think.
He does understand. And he said, that's why I tweeted the thing out and all of that. But I feel like it's an interesting position moving forward because we know that Kristaps, he's not going to play a full season. You're not going to get 70 games out of him. He's going to, and again, last season was weird, right? The injury, the weirdest injury. But side note, by the way, he can't just get hurt. He can't just get sick. It's the rarest ankle injury we've ever seen, and it's a mystery viral illness that knocks him on his butt for 2 weeks that no one can identify. Like
he did kind of identify it, right? Didn't he say it was bronchitis, and then he kind of asked, like, is that the right word for it?
He thinks it might be bronchitis, but they didn't just say, okay, this is what it was.
He had bronchitis,
regardless,
right? Yeah.
But my point is, he doesn't just get sick and miss a few days,
right?
He misses 9 of 10 games. You know what I mean? He doesn't just get hurt, and so
he adds to the drama by trying to come back for the Lakers game and It's like turns into a whole thing. Yeah, for sure.
And I'm just kind of curious how they handle him. Like he doesn't make so much money that like he makes a ton of money, but sure. in the grand scheme of things, what's he making? 25 million or so? That's half of what Jayson Tatum makes, half of what Jaylen Brown makes. And when he's fully healthy, he's giving you production that's worth more than that money.
Oh yeah.
I think he's appropriately paid for a guy that he's like paid because he's super talented, but not available. And so he gets 25 million a year because he's not going to play, 70. Did you look up his salary?
I did. Yeah. When you were saying 25, I was like, I think it's
is it off? Am I wrong?
It's actually 29 this year, 29.2 this year, 30 next year.
Okay, so it's close. So it was close. It was
close. And I don't think it changes your point that
it's still just about half of what Jaylen and Jayson make. So think about it in terms of what you pay your stars, and you're paying this guy basically half of what they make. Yeah, like if he was fully healthy all the time, he'd be making that kind of money too.
Yeah,
because he's so unique. But because he's only playing half the season, he's getting half of the money, and I think that's fair. So, I mean, like we said the other day, you want Porzingis to play enough where he's in rhythm, where the guys are comfortable with him, and that he's healthy for a playoff run. The only time you really need him this season anyway is the last 14 games, and everything that's building up is that's it for me. So I was happy with what I saw. It's kind of typical. You can tell that when he's not his full self, he's going to struggle from 3. He shorted a layup because he didn't have the legs under him. He probably thought he was going to go up and dunk it, and then he was like, oh my God. And then he just left the layup short, which told me he had no legs. You can tell after some plays he was just really like struggling with the breath. But the poster dunk at the end was awesome. And he, 14 points in the fourth quarter to lead the Celtics. He comes back after all that and leads the Celtics in a frantic scramble to the finish.
Yeah.
I'm 100% happy with that.
Yeah. I thought defensively, you saw some slippage, right? Which again, fair, like if you expected him to come out and just be his peak self, then you were expecting too much. Like that's, there's going to be defensive issues for a guy who's just coming back. But again, it's like you said right off the top, we're not talking about somebody who's like trying to overtax himself and, move extra quickly on on like a bulky leg. Like that's not what this is. This is just a guy getting his win back, and that will come back a heck of a lot quicker when it's just an illness. And he played 32 minutes in his first game back. That's gonna help him a lot. Like these are good things for him.
So some other things to talk about from the weekend, including Sam Hauser, who I really didn't talk about in that last game. He played well, and Luke Kornet and a bunch of other guys who had Jrue Holiday, his passing, all of that stuff. We'll talk about all of that when we come back. As soon as I can hit this button. I'm a professional. I know what I'm doing. Today's show is brought to you by DoorDash. Hey, there have been a lot of 50-point games around the league lately, and when any player scores 50 or more during the rest of this regular season, and there's only 14 games left, but it's going to happen, Dash Pass members get 50% off an order, up to $10 off the next day from noon to midnight. So every time a player drops 50, you score huge. So whoever drops 50, hey, maybe it'll be a Celtic, maybe Jayson or Jaylen will be there and drop 50 in this game against Brooklyn on Tuesday night. Then you can celebrate by ordering wings, pizza, burgers from your favorite spot, get it delivered directly to your door the next day. Or maybe you're going to stay up late watching a game the day after and you want to get something delivered. You can save big on that midnight snack, or maybe at work, you just want to get an easy lunch. So with Dash Pass, you can get your favorite meals with $0 delivery fees and reduced service fees. And now you can save even more with this exclusive NBA offer. Sign up for Dash Pass and be ready to save. When a player scores 50 or more in a game, Dash Pass members get 50% off an order the next day, up to $10 off. Just use promo code NBA50 from noon to midnight after a 50-point game on eligible orders at participating merchants. Must have an active Dash Pass account. Terms apply. Visit DoorDash to learn more. Today's show is also brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers here in time for March Madness, you can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's 200 extra bucks to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories, even who's going to be cutting down the nets. Pick an underdog, pick a Cinderella team, see if they're going to make a run. FanDuel makes it easy to back them with spreads, totals, and game props. With tournament games happening almost every day, there's always something exciting to bet on, and the FanDuel app is simple to use. When you win, you get paid instantly, no waiting around. The app will instantly also ask you to set your limit, set your budget. They want you to gamble responsibly so you're not going overboard. It's very easy to get swept up in the March Madness. So set your limit, set your budget, whatever your disposable income is for that particular time, and have fun gambling responsibly. Visit FanDuel.com and get in on the college hoops action all tournament long. Thanks for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Sign up for the new Locked On Celtics newsletter, LockedOnDaily.com. Click on the Locked On Celtics logo. Enter your email, and I will send you an email Monday through Friday with Celtics coverage, NBA coverage from around the network, and Locked On Fantasy. We hook you up with fantasy coverage. I know fantasy season is wrapping up, so it's very important to get that. Plus links to your favorite Celtics stories around the internet. Check it out, LockedOnDaily.com. And enter your email after you click on that Locked On Celtics logo. So, Tom, a couple of wins, we can joke, but they still need to win some of these games. So,
not to make the playoffs.
What's that?
Not to make the playoffs. Not anymore. They're in.
I mean, they've clinched that playoff spot. They're in. Whew, they're in. Let's see. I don't know where we want to start here. How about Jrue Holiday?
Yeah,
let's start with Jrue Holiday.
Yep.
because he had the big game scoring on against Miami, and then the shot kind of went away, but 12 assists and running the offense in the fourth quarter, running everything through him, running those Holiday, Kristaps Porzingis pick and rolls. When the Nets were selling out to stop Tatum, you put it in Holiday's hands and you let him make those decisions. And what do you know? He is absolutely capable of running a fourth quarter offense. I know it's against the Brooklyn defense, but he's still capable of finding those guys, making the right play. I thought this was a really great weekend for him.
Yeah, I thought so too. I thought his passing was really, really impressive. I thought that it was interesting to see him manipulate the defense in such a similar way to the guys who are on the ball a little bit more usually, right? Like it's just such a stark reminder that this Celtics team has an overabundance of talent, right? Because it brought you back a little bit to that last holiday season in Milwaukee where he made an all-star team and was awesome, very much deserved to make that all-star team. He looked he looked a lot like that version of himself. And I think he is, I think, probably the biggest test case for our guy, is this team willing to sacrifice X, Y, and Z? Tatum hasn't really had to sacrifice anything.
No.
I don't think Jaylen has had to sacrifice anything. I think they're pretty. Jaylen probably thinks that Jaylen has had to sacrifice a little bit, but I don't think that either of those guys has really had to sacrifice much at all. I think and I think Derrick White is pretty happy with his lot in life. He just seems like a pretty seems like a pretty easygoing dude. Porzingis is kind of has his own little niche. He doesn't really, but Holiday is the guy where it's that's the guy who has really had to set aside a lot of things. I think a lot of ego to be in this position. And he's helped the team enormously. He's been a huge part of things. And I think if you ask anybody on the team, they would immediately jump to give Jrue Holiday his credit. Joe Mazzulla, when he was asked after the Miami game about do you think he's ever overlooked? And Mazzulla's yes, absolutely. He's overlooked, he's not the guy that people are talking about all the time. I think any of the guys would be very quick to say that, but Celtics fans, us too, right? You don't talk about Jrue Holiday that much. Is
right.
But he's great. He's an awesome basketball player. He was an all-star not very long ago, and a very deserving all-star not very long ago.
So he averaged 19.3 points per game and 7.4 assists in that last season, and got some consideration for defensive player of the year. He obviously was doing his same thing. A slight, not quite Ray Allen-ish, but Ray Allen, adjacent when he made the when he got traded from Seattle to Boston the year before. He was an all-star, averaging 26.4 points per game, 26, four assists, and then he never averaged more than 18.
Yeah,
with the Celtics, and obviously different types of players, but very similar in that he's a guy that came here and was a key piece to a championship. Before he got to Boston, he was scoring a lot more. He was a much bigger part of the team he was on. Yeah. Then he came to Boston, had a very specialized role. And Doc Rivers will say it he sacrificed the most. Ray Allen sacrificed the absolute most in that big three scenario, and it worked out for them. They won a championship, but it should not be forgotten. I know people had that long time hating Ray for leaving and all of that. That's a separate thing. He sacrificed the most to get here, and Jrue definitely sacrificed the most out of everybody to play with the Celtics. So it is a good reminder that only a couple of years ago he was doing big things, right? I wrote after the Miami game 2 years ago on the 20 something, in March, he had a 51 point game.
Yeah.
His career high. So it's not like he forgot how to score. It's not like he's not able to score. He just never needs to score for the Celtics.
Well, and I really like the Ray Allen comparison for that reason you said, right? The role. That's the biggest thing, right? Where it's like Ray Allen's role changed so much to come to the Celtics and try to win championships. Jrue Holiday's role has changed so much. And I think there's another aspect of that too, right? Where it's like both Ray Allen and Jrue Holiday were and have been willing to give up kind of the tail end of their prime to try to do this. Right.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, like Jrue was part of a, you know, like both of them, right. They both traded here. Right. But both those guys, like Holiday's 34. So, you know, that's when he came here, he was 32. He was staring those last few years of his prime right in the face. And yeah, you could do a lot worse. Like nobody's going to be crying for you to be to be a contender in the last few years of your prime, to be on a team this good. Like nobody's like, wow, poor Jrue Holiday. But at the same time, it's like that is a sacrifice. Like you are talking about, you come to the Celtics, you're probably not going to make another All-Star team. Like
that's it. Yeah, no, 100%.
Like, just is what it is. And you got a chance to win titles, and that's awesome, and that's so worthwhile. And clearly, Jrue Holiday agrees because he's seemed very content here, seemed very happy here. But that is sacrifice. That's a pretty big one, honestly.
Yeah. It's funny because I was thinking about that when I first brought up the Ray point, and I'm glad you made that point for me. Because as I was talking, I forgot it. But yeah, they came here, like Ray came here and obviously was like, he scored, but he was just like a 3-point specialist for the most part.
Yeah.
And yeah, his role changed so starkly that people are just like, no, he just came here for the end of his career. Be like, nah, it didn't have to be like that.
Yeah.
He could have gone, okay, if Jrue just said, you know what, I am going to stay in Portland. I'm going to stay in Portland and I want to be here. And like, and he wanted to, like, he could have averaged 20 plus points per game.
Absolutely.
You know, with them if he wanted to. So yeah.
And he would have had a shot at all-star teams because while he was averaging 20 a game, he would have been one of the best defensive guards in the league. Like, yeah. So
yeah, he gave up a lot. So it's a nice reminder to be like, hey, he's still damn good.
Yeah.
All right. Let's get to some of these other guys quickly after the break and then get into what we want to see moving forward. Today's show is brought to you by Monarch Money. If you've ever checked your bank account and wondered where all your money went, Monarch Money is going to help you out. If you're like me, it's eating everywhere. Eating out, online shopping is a big one for me too. It's very easy to lose track of where your money goes. But Monarch Money is like a personal CFO. It gives you full visibility and control over your finances. It's not just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So you stop just managing your money and you start building wealth. So Monarch Money can help you realize exactly how much money you're spending on things like food delivery. So it's easier to budget smarter. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track your spending. And if you're with a partner, it can track shared and personal accounts. It can help you set goals and stay on the same page without the stress. That's huge. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNBA for half off your first year.
The NCAA tournament is here, and so is the Bracket Breakdown.
Locked On Podcast Network and Amazon Fire TV channels are teaming up to deliver NCAA tournament coverage like never before. Watch studio shows featuring former players and Locked On's local experts as they guide you through every upset, buzzer beater, and bracket matchup.
Stream it all for free on Amazon Fire TV channel. Search Bracket Breakdown to see it all for free.
It's your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Go check out Locked On NBA Game Night, 7 days a week, covering the league every night. I'm on Fridays. It's me and Jake Madison, so go check us out there wherever you get your podcasts. Quickly want to mention Sam Hauser, who shot 50% over these two games, 2 of 4 against Miami. Not much, but 2 of 4 against Miami, and then 3 of 6 against Brooklyn. Just hitting big shots, hitting shots in general, and holding his own defensively. Typical Sam Hauser stuff. Glad to see that. And obviously Luke Kornet was great. I mean, Brian Scalabrine just keeps losing his mind over Luke Kornet. And Payton Pritchard set a record, most 3-pointers off the bench. Anything stand out from those guys for you?
I think the most interesting one to me is, besides Pritchard, which like the thing with Pritchard is just kind of like, congrats, man. Like that's sick. Yeah. Good job. Like
he works hard. He works hard. He deserves it.
Not being sarcastic at all. That is genuinely sick. Very good job. Very cool.
Yeah.
My thing that interests me a little bit about Hauser is just kind of like, well, this is, I think as we get toward the playoffs and like, right, everything that we're talking about now is going to be just focused like toward the playoffs. Like,
yeah,
short of, I'm knocking on some wood here, short of anything, there's nothing super interesting about these last couple of weeks, apart from just like how they translate to the postseason, I think is probably fair to say. So like looking ahead to the postseason on Hauser's performance, it's interesting how like he could turn a series. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
Hauser getting hot at the right time could genuinely just like Cleveland, right? Like if he got hot against Cleveland, I don't see teams beating the Celtics. Certainly not 4 times out of 7 if Sam Hauser is hot. So it's interesting to like kind of watch him like as this ramps up and just, it's so hard to tell with a shooter. It's so hard to tell like when they're going to kind of, explode a little bit. But if Sam Hauser gets hot in a series, that series is probably over. And that's a very interesting position for a role player to be in.
Yeah. No, it's true because it means that the Celtic, first of all, it's if he gets hot, it's 3-pointers.
Yup.
And it's they have
12-point swing out of nowhere. That's just like, good Lord, do we have to deal with this?
He doesn't hit 5 3-pointers like one in the first, 2 in the second. Right. He hits 5 3-pointers and it's 1 in the second and 4 in the fourth, all in like a minute and a half. They keep finding them. And I feel like it's teams take away, like they take away Tatum, they take away Jaylen, they take away something. And Hauser is incredible at reading where to be on the floor. He presents guys with an option, a passing option. He knows exactly the angle to be at to get the shot. I mean, it's shooters are supposed to know that, and a lot of shooters do. He's just great at it.
Yeah.
And if he gets those clean looks and it starts to fall and he feels good, then all of a sudden your defensive strategy just gets decimated. And that's where the whole thing falls apart. So yeah, if he's you're right. Like if it's a Cleveland, if it's a tough Cleveland series and it's, 2-point game in the fourth quarter, next thing you know, it's boom, 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 11-point game. You're like, oh crap. Now the entire game changes because you have a double-digit lead and you can play differently and you can slow the game down a little bit and the strategy changes. So yes, he's huge.
I know I don't want to get to the last thing, but just really quick, I also think it's interesting because usually what has happened in those instances is something that has absolutely nothing to do with Sam Hauser, right? It's like it's like the defense has just like all of a sudden gotten itself tripped up and stuck on one, matchup somewhere else, and then Hauser just is like, it doesn't happen by itself, right? He finds that space and he gets to the right space and he tricks whoever's guarding him, like they turn around and he just kind of floats up to a different part, and that just happens like 3 times in a row, and it's always something else. But that is the thing with the Celtics. Everything that you do defensively has to be so on point because that threat is always there.
Yeah, it's crazy. And look, what we want to see moving forward is somehow you want to keep this role going for Hauser. So I think one of the things you want to see going forward is just appropriate rest for the stars. But within that appropriate rest is opportunity for Sam to play bigger minutes. I'd love to see against Portland or Sacramento coming up in the back-to-back, get those guys that 25, 30 minutes or something like that. Let them get their touches and that rhythm and, keep it going. So if we're looking ahead, that the role players getting their rhythm is probably one of the biggest things that I want to see moving forward.
Yeah, I think related to that, one of the things I want to see moving forward, I want to see Payton Pritchard put that 3-point record out of reach. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Because this is his time to there's gonna be a lot of Payton Pritchard minutes over the next few weeks. And the truth is, right, but one of the reasons that Pritchard broke that record is because the Celtics hoist so many 3-pointers and because he is such a key part of that. It is going to be hard for because the NBA has gone so 3-point heavy, it's going to be hard for a bench player to top that. This isn't going to be a record that's going to be super easily broken.
Yeah.
This, I mean, it's going to take a very special player on a team that shoots a ton of threes. And, Pritchard can run the score up. You get that thing up there, man. I want to see how, what can he get to?
He's at 220.
Yeah.
Okay. There's 14 games left to hit. He's got to hit 80 more. Can he get 80 more? 80.
That's a lot.
That's 5.7 3-pointers per game.
Made per game. That's a lot.
He needs to average 5.7 makes per game to get to 300 3-pointers. Can he do it? I don't think so.
That would be a heat. That would be an unbelievable heater. But I mean,
he's averaging 3.3 makes. So he needs to.
So he needs to make 2 more per game.
Effectively 2.5 more, close to double his production to get. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know about that one, but he can definitely put it a lot higher and make the next the next bench guy. I mean, and this record stood for 7 years, right? That's in an era of 3-point shooting, a 3-point record stood for 7 years, and Pritchard is going to eclipse that and by quite a bit. So
it's funny. So Tatum has 227, Derrick White has 225, Payton Pritchard has 220.
Yeah,
Who finishes on top?
Ooh, there it is.
This race.
I want to see Payton Pritchard win this race.
Okay, that's what we're looking for.
Yeah.
Can Payton Pritchard lead the Celtics in made threes? You know what? I think he can do it.
Yeah,
because
I would bet on that.
Tatum and White might get days off, and Pritchard probably won't take any. I'd be surprised if they give him any days off. He's already played 67 to Tatum's 63 and White's 64. So that's kind of what's propping him up totals wise. But because he's averaging 3.3 makes, White's 3.5, Jayson's 3.6. I don't know, man. I think Payton Pritchard could end up leading the Celtics in total 3-pointers made this season.
That'd be pretty amazing. Also, I really do think that him breaking the 3-point record off the bench and hitting a starter number of threes as a bench player, you got to give him the 6th man of the year. I know other guys have made their little push or whatever, but come
on. I don't know how many what's the who leads? I'm going to see if I can look this up real quick because I want to know who leads the team in 3-pointers made. Let's see. Totals. 3-pointers made. It's going to be somebody's doing something ungodly here. Anthony Edwards at 270. So he's not getting caught. But Pritchard is 7th in the NBA. This is so crazy. Tatum is 4th, Derrick White is 5th, Pritchard is 7th. Wow, man.
They make a lot of threes, the Boston Celtics.
They make a lot of threes.
Right here on the Locked On Celtics podcast first, that the Celtics take and make a lot of threes.
That's incredible. Honestly, the last 14 games, this might be the most interesting thing. The regular season, for all intents and purposes, is over. Now, I don't want to really say that too loudly because I'm doing a podcast 5 days a week. And, I want people to be interested in what I'm saying. But Celtics are behind the Cavs 7.5 games, and they are 6 games up on the Knicks. in 14 days, it would take an utter collapse. It would be miraculous if anything changes 1, 2, 3.
Also, the opponents up ahead are not. There's plenty of real solid wins in that.
Yeah, Utah, Portland, Sacramento, Phoenix, San Antonio, Memphis. That's the road trip coming up.
Yeah.
I mean, the road will be tough, but Miami, Phoenix, Washington.
The home will be tough. The Celtics are fine on the road. They're
Miami, Phoenix, Washington at home, a back-to-back New York, Orlando.
Yeah, here's the stat for you. Tankathon has its remaining strength of schedule. The Celtics have the 29th hardest remaining schedule according to winning percentage.
Okay.
So
all right. Just get through it. Just get through it. Cardio, keep the cardio up. Take appropriate rest days. The split squads. I don't want to see anybody playing back-to-backs. No. Let's just do that. And then Payton Pritchard. Let's put money on Payton Pritchard to lead the Celtics in 3-pointers. That'll be fun. All right, Tom. Appreciate you as always, man. Thank you for hopping on.
Appreciate you, man.
And I do appreciate everybody who is listening, everybody who is watching the show. Thank you so much for joining me and Tom on this Celtics journey. Very happy to be a part of your day, your daily routine. So very much appreciate that. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Thank you for getting into the YouTube comment section and sharing your opinion, sharing your thoughts, and also sharing the podcast with your friends, family, everybody, and telling them they should be listening to and watching the Locked On Celtics podcast here on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.